The April Take 5 action is to ensure that each member has 4 generations identified on their tree. So I'm going to use Duncan MacLeod as an example. If you'll go into the app and you go to the tree view under the filter, make sure that you have 4 generations identified, and that is the information that we want to fill in with the fan. So the first ring would be parents, then grandparents, and then great-grandparents. So Duncan is the first generation, great-grandparents is the 4th generation. We want to make sure that each member has all 4 of those generations identified. In this case, you can see that there are no parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents identified. What you'd want to do is select, just pick Duncan MacLeod, and it will bring you into his record. When you go into his record, you'll see spouses and parents underneath his name at the top. So if you pick on parents, it will say that there are no known parents. So we want to add parents. It will come up with a template. You'll notice it says English in the top left. You can click on that and select a different language if there's a different language you want to use. And then it'll say male or female. So select the gender. If there's a title, it's very rare, but if you do put a title in, you can put a title in, put whatever name you have. And I'm just going to use a generic name here. If you only have the last name, just put the last name in. If you only have a first name, just put the first name in. Put whatever information is available to you. Then identify whether they're deceased or living. If they are living, it will ask for a birth date and birthplace. If they're deceased, it will ask for birthplace, birth date, and death date and death place. If it's a living person, it will create a unique record that only you can see, and that protects the privacy of the information from getting out onto the internet. If it's a deceased person, it will be available to those people who try and search for that person within the app. So just be aware of that. As you start to type in the date, you can put in a year, you can put in a month and a year, you can put in a month, a date, and a year. So as you start to type this information in, it will start to show you options for the standard way of defining dates. And once you type in the information you have, pick the standard. Same thing for the birthplace. As you start to put in information, it will look up and see if there are standard locations. So there's different Port Hurons in Michigan, France, Switzerland. You can pick the one that applies, use the standard, do the same thing for the death date and the death place. If you don't have it, just leave it blank for now. Then when you put in all the information that you have, go up to continue. Since I put in that the person was deceased, the first thing they're going to do is search the database to see if one of my other ancestors or someone else has input that information for that individual. If they think there's a match, they'll show it to you at the top. Where mine says there is no match, in other cases they would show you the names and records of other people. If you have that, click on it, see if it is the same person. If it is the same person, pull that record in, because when you pull that record in, if they have parents, grandparents, great-grandparents associated with that record, you'll get the benefit of all of that information and it will populate your tree. If there is no match, then you simply say add, and when you add it, I'm going to take it back out, it will then show up on your tree as a parent to Duncan MacLeod. You can then pick on that parent, add their parents. Once they're in, click on them, add their parents, and soon you'll have your 4 generations in. If you don't have all of the information, don't worry about it. Put the information you have in, and then you can come back and you can fill the rest of the information in. So for example, if I had only put Duncan MacLeod's name in, I can go back to his record, comes to details, I can pick on his birth date, death date, and I can say edit, and I can change that, modify it, make it more complete. And then you just hit save. So you can continue to go back in and refine and make your records more and more accurate. That's all there is to it. It's simple to put in the 4 generations. Our hope is that you have enough information about your parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents to make that connection. In some cases, it's just a matter of an individual putting in the living individuals and then that first deceased individual, and then it'll pull all of the information that maybe your parents, your grandparents have input in the past, and you'll be the recipient of all of that genealogy in your ancestral line. If If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to your ward, temple, and family history leader. They're happy to help you make sure that you do it right, answer any questions that you have, and make sure that we get our 4 generations identified.